Thanks to our friends at The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/rive to receive the top 10 stocks to buy right now. Wynn Resorts reported earnings after the market closed on Tuesday, and I think there was a lot to like for investors. That's not real surprising given what we heard from Las Vegas Sands, MGM Resorts, and even Caesars over the past couple of weeks. But I do want to dig into the numbers and show exactly why Wynn is one of the companies that I think could be a big winner in the casino space over the next couple of years. My name is Travis Hoyam. Thanks for watching Rive Investing. Please subscribe here on YouTube for all my content. And let's get right into Wynn's results. If you haven't looked at Wynn's results before, what's interesting is this is a very fancy company, but it gives very, very plain earnings results. Not a lot of flash here for investors to look at, but operating revenue $1.42 billion for the first quarter, an increase of $470 million from $953.3 million a year ago. Most of that growth is coming in Macau. I'll get to the segment results in just a second, but rapid growth really across the board for Wynn Resorts. Net income was $12.3 million. In the gaming business, we tend to look at adjusted property EBITDA, and that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. The reason that we do that is that's a good proxy for cash flow. So what companies do is they spend billions of dollars to build a casino, and then it just generates cash year after year. So as an investor in Wynn Resorts today, I don't necessarily care what the casino cost to build when it was built in 2005. I care about how much cash is that casino churning out today. And then I can decide how much the company, the stock, and the debt is worth. That's why we look at EBITDA. And that was, again, really great improvement here. $430 million in EBITDA compared to $177 million just a year ago. I think the key is really to go into the segment results because that's going to tell us where there's a lot of growth. Macau is really the story right now. Still only about 50%, a little less than 50% of what it was doing in gaming revenue before the pandemic. So China's lockdown really impacted Macau for over 3 years. I think that's something that we really need to remember is that the largest gaming market in the world, about 6 times the size of the Las Vegas Strip, and then basically went to zero and kind of stayed there for about 3 years. But that's really changing as China has opened up its economy and it is zero COVID policy. So Wynn Palace, which is the biggest resort the company has in Macau, $370 million in revenue for the quarter, an increase of $206 million. So more than doubled from a year ago. And remember, if we get back to some sort of level of normal, it could double on top of that. But adjusted EBITDA after cost reductions during the pandemic, adjusted EBITDA, or a proxy for cash flow, about $111 million coming out of that resort. So a run rate of $450 million or so. That's really impressive. And I think in time, that could be a casino that churns out about $1 billion per year. Wynn Macau, which is the older resort, $230.7 million in revenue, increase from $95.6 million. So more than 100% increase there. Adjusted EBITDA was $44.7 million. So again, very profitable casino, on pace for doing somewhere around $200 million, although that could increase over the course of the year as more of the economy opens up. The trend here for Macau is just growth absolutely everywhere. And this is really a rising tide lifts all boats. We've seen strong results across the industry, and Wynn is just the latest to show that. This is a company that always focuses on the high end of users, of consumers. So there will be some ebb and flow in the results, but I think we are seeing that those consumers are absolutely coming back in a big, big way. Las Vegas operations. So this is the oldest operations the company has. $487 million in revenue for the first quarter, an increase of $146 million. Now, this is coming off of a really good year in 2022. So this is not the same scenario as what's happening in Macau. 2022 was great. 2023 looks like it's even better. And again, this is exactly what we've seen from MGM and Caesars. Adjusted property EBITDA, $231 million for the quarter. That's just incredible. It wasn't long ago that $500 million for the entire year was a phenomenal year for Wynn Resorts. Now we're looking at over $800 billion in adjusted property EBITDA potentially. That's just incredible. Wynn Boston Harbor. Encore Boston Harbor is the other one that's doing really well. $216 million in revenue in the quarter, an increase of $25.5 million. Again, not nearly the same kind of growth as Macau because Boston was not shut down a year ago. and adjusted property EBITDA for the property was 63 million compared to 55 million a year ago. This is a property that I don't think you can base your investment thesis on the Encore Boston Harbor property, but it's a nice thing to have and a nice brand builder on the East Coast for Wynn Resorts. So I think the results for Wynn were really strong, and really the only question right now is how high can Macau's gaming revenue go? Like I said, we're still only about half of what we were doing from a gaming revenue perspective before the pandemic, and that was based on the March number, and that was based on the March and April numbers. So there's still a lot of room for growth there. If we see these resorts churning out $1 billion of property EBITDA, that could be incredible for these companies because frankly, there's not a lot of places for them to invest that money. So a lot of that money is going to go to shareholders in the form of stock buybacks or dividends. Historically, Wynn would be a company that pays a large special dividend periodically. So we could see that return over the next couple of years. I think Wynn is really positioned well in the gaming industry. More and more people are spending money on entertainment, on gambling. That's exactly what this company does, whether it's in the US or in Macau. And I think it still has a bright future. Investors are kind of overlooking the growth potential given the run up in these stocks last fall, but I still think there's a lot of potential for Wynn Resorts and a lot of its neighbors in Macau as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Give me your thoughts on Wynn Resorts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you here next time.